It's a pleasure for me to have such guests here, and I believe that our discussion on digital transformation will be interesting for you all. I must say that I was having some idea on how to approach this topic, but once we started talking, I saw how broadly we see it, so I hope that all this diversity will be reflected in our discussion. I also want to invite you to exchange your thoughts with us, so whenever you want to comment or add something from your side, we are open. So please feel free to raise your hand. And I would like to start from quick introduction of us all. Please tell us a few words about yourselves so that we can get to know each other here. A few words, where are you from? What is your digital transformation story?
Okay, hello everybody. I am Magda Ptak and I've been working in UX area for the last 12 years. And at the same time, at the moment, I am UX head in IG. This is trading company. If you ask me as a person, so I am really keen regarding sports activities, you know, with surfing, snowboarding, etc. So that's me.
Hi everyone, this is Erhan Ok. So I'm from Turkey originally, but I have been living in Poland over 6 years. And I'm head of digital capability at ABB. So more or less what Yahoo was mentioning to you guys, so I'm the one driving internal digital transformation for ABB through business process automation. And before then this, again, I was working in that area for other companies as well as business transformation and as the IT programmer just before then this one as well. So.
Hi, my name is Bartek. You have seen me earlier today on stage. I'm a director of product management and I am a product manager for something like 13 years already, but I started as a developer, so my background is really in engineering. I work in a company called Dynatrace and live in Tri-City area for most of my life. About digital transformation, actually I kind of said it earlier during the presentation, it all started with computers in the 80s and I transformed.
Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Robert Florczyk. I'm from BBH. I'm responsible for digital. And I think that's it. Okay,
we'll learn more about you as we progress with the discussion. I come from Deloitte Digital, and I work in the team in which we design and build the digital products and services. So this is my perspective. Digital transformation is a term which may be a bit confusing because there's a many ways of possible understanding of this term and many contexts to which we at which we show it. What is it?
I have a definition.
A definition, okay. So you are using your definition, but I want to exchange the different definitions and different points of view. So Bartek, if you want to start with your proper definition, because it's proper because it's written down, let's take it as a starting point.
All right, so I probably will get out of it cheaply just by quoting Wikipedia for this. So this is actually quite a complex thing if you read in this article, but just maybe to read the very first sentence there. Digital transformation is the use of new, fast and frequently changing digital technologies to solve problems, often utilizing cloud computing, reducing reliance on user-owned hardware, and so on and so on. But then if you read slightly further down, the thing that kind of resonates with me as a definition is that digital transformation is described as a total and overall societal effect of digitalization. And digitalization is basically a process of using digital technology with different techniques and approaches. So digital transformation has a very social aspect to it. It's something that impacts the society, and that's probably the starting point.
Erhan?
Okay. So basically, digital transformation, actually name-wise, digital is very confusing, because if you look at the most of the organization, you can find a lot of digital leads, digital managers, or product managers, or whatever you call it. So for me, digital means for a company which is producing a product, so digitalizing their solutions more towards implementing Industry 4.0 and proposing more intelligent products to their end customers. But personally, what I do is internal digital transformation. So that means we are focusing on how ABB is operating today and how we bring the ABB into next-gen operations. That means no-shore operations. So, just to visualize what I mean, if you look at the productions before, like the car production line, 100 people are doing the production, right? But now all machines and one person is just managing the production line, right? So this is the future of operations for most of the companies. So that's what we are doing and what we call as digital transformation.
Okay, so for me, I see digital transformation in the context of organization. So for me, it's a process which includes new technology, to make changes inside the organizations. I would say I will see even, wider this process, that this process touch, for example, changes regarding culture inside the company, regarding mental models, regarding, how people thinking about the product, about the information inside the company, how they share this information. And as a result of the digital transformation, I would expect, for example, improvements in the decision-making process across the whole company.
Robert?
Yes, so we are looking at digital transformation from completely different perspectives. So we have slightly different backgrounds working in different companies. But what is in common in our definition is that digital transformation is applying technology to simplify our work and simplify our lives. So this is something that I will use as a definition to wrap up this question. So, using technology to simplify production operations, delivering insights to our clients that are using products, making better trading decisions.
We have different perspectives here. We have the view of the societal change, we have the organizational perspective, the transformation of the organizations, operations, also simplification at the different spheres of our life. Do you have any other perspective on digital transformation that you would see as valuable to be added here? Does any of you want to add something to this picture, to this very initial picture?
Do you agree with us?
You have to totally touch on the way that digital transformation changes the attitude of a singular person of me, rather than you look at the business. But how does digital transformation affect my attitude towards, let's say, who you watching at home?
Mm-hmm. So our behavior as consumers, as participants of the society.
It's society. I would say it's society. So it is very disruptive. It is very much changing, and I believe with digital transformation it is going to accelerate even more. And the question is, where are we going to land in the next 20 years?
We will forward to this question. I think it's unavoidable. Yes, so this is this societal context. Let's focus a little bit on the challenges at these different levels. You asked the question about this direction towards which we had, but what's going on in this field, in this sphere of our activities as the participant of a society, of the civilization? How does the digital transformation affect us, and what are the challenges here?
So if I may add a little bit of my perspective, actually the perspective that probably the company where I work for is really representing here. And again, I kind of touched on this topic during my lecture earlier. So just to remind you, what we are building today is a product that helps to analyze the performance of the applications. And applications are currently basically a conglomerate of different services, different features that are talking to each other, exchanging some information, exchanging events with a goal to serve certain business purpose. As an example of an application, you might consider, say, a web store where customer goes using their browser, clicks on some elements of the UI, and then finds a product, pays for that, and so on. But behind the scenes, many things happen. So what digital transformation meant for us in particular is that what we have realized that with the growth of complexity of the application, but also with the growth of the ease of use of some of the services, we have witnessed the erosion of competency on the receiving end of our product. So let me explain what it means. Several years ago, with older generation of the tools that we had, we could bombard the user, quote unquote, with tons of different measurements, tons of different metrics that were very particular to the specific domain. So there were, for example, tons of measurements for network, tons of measurements for databases, and so on and so on. But in order to really interpret them, you had to be an expert in a particular domain. You had to understand what the network throughput is, loss rate, latency, and so on and so on. And only then build like a picture of what's going on. However, with the emergence of the cloud services, what we have seen is that these experts start to basically disappear. And it's more and more difficult to sell a product to an audience that cannot interpret this data anymore. And that was a sort of digital transformation revelation that we have found out several years ago, that in order to really be still successful in building our solution, we have to talk to a slightly different audience, because the audience have evolved. They have transformed digitally. They do not follow how the technology works anymore on that very deep level of abstraction. They understand what's going on the higher level, but on a deeper level, it's impossible. So we had to patch in this part. We had to provide a level of interpretation that actually is a digital transformation in itself as well. I hope it makes sense. I'm sorry for stealing so much time.
Nancy, sorry, thank you very much. I'm listening to you and thinking about the simplification because it has something to do with the simplification. And I wonder, we are a very specific group here and we probably all agree with this simplification idea. But when I ask people who are less tech-savvy, they would be probably surprised with the idea that digital transformation or digitalization is about simplification, because technology is all about complications. It's something which is strange and a bit scary. What do you think about it? Is it a real simplification, or is it sometimes making life more, unnecessarily sometimes, more complicated? Do you want to relate to this?
So as Bartek said, systems like IT systems, computer systems are getting more and more complex. They are being more and more distributed. They are being deployed in more and more regions. But product owner's responsibility is to abstract the complex technology with some kind of a simple user interface. And it's happening in all the areas. So if you think about BBH, we are building systems that are being used by internally and are being used by our clients. And the idea behind digital transformation is to simplify users' job or to deliver clients insights. With Bartek's case, we are by using technology, grouping events, identifying things that are important for the IT operations teams. We are simplifying, we are preventing production incidents, we are being proactive. We are also helping people to focus on things that they have to focus. Also in our private lives, so you were asking about how digital transformation is influencing our social lives and our social interactions, and it's happening. So you have complex algorithms that are being used in the platforms that are streaming videos, because you were referring to videos. So you do not waste time starting 12 videos and after 10-15 minutes deciding that none of them are interesting to you based on your history. The algorithms are recommending you videos that will fit into your preferences. So it's happening. Simplification is also happening in our retail space. So if you think of personal assistants, if you think of products that Apple, Google is introducing to our lives in smartphones, the idea behind those complex technologies is to make the end user using them without a deep knowledge of mathematics or physics.
Thank you, Magda. Would you like to add a user experience perspective to it?
Yes, sure. For example, digital transformation can be seen as everything in the dark and bright colors. So for me, for example, if some company is gathering the data and at the same time, for example, just get insights from this data and help in my daily routine, for example, save my time and I don't know, just help my decision process to make my faster and better decision. For example, if I am at work and I will receive notification on my iPhone that I'm supposed to leave my company earlier today because there may be huge traffic, on my road to kindergarten. So it's, it's something awesome for me. So in this context, it's definitely, something good, but it depends from you how you see it.
It also depends on how it is executed, because sometimes being forced to use the digital tools makes the people more frustrated than using just a pen and paper. So it's a matter of the quality of the solutions we build. Erhan, what about this organizational perspective on operations? How does the digital transformation transform the organizations?
Well, so basically, when you transform an organization in terms of service operations, usually the human attitude is changing, the way of working is changing, and also the quality of deliverables you generate is also changing. Yeah? Simplification is one of the key input here as well. So basically, I remember one use case. So most of you guys may be aware of invoice processing, right? So if you review the invoice processing for 4 countries at ABB, there were a huge variation. And every invoice was going through the different channels, and then a lot of different groups supporting verification of those and the payment of those, right? So it was terrible experience for the team and terrible experience for our vendors. So as the vendor, I provide you my service and I want to get paid. I don't worry about anything else. And as the employee, I just don't want to deal with like mess. I just want to click one button or just monitor. Yes, vendor get paid, right? So two persona, but if you look at the reality, they have big pain in the overall process. So what we have done through digital transformation, we simplify this process. And as the vendor, since I send the invoice and I know through a chatbot, here is my invoice number when I'm going to get paid. And directly you get the answer. You don't need to send the emails, chase the people, etc., right? And as the invoice processor in finance, I don't need to worry because since the moment invoice comes in, it's automatically taken by the digital solution and processed through the vision and extract the data and then schedule the payment, and the payment is ensured. And this is scalable, this is flexible. And this is a very simple way of doing the operations instead of having 30 people sitting and just supporting those variations among the process and the target systems. Yeah.
Can I go back really quickly to the question that Yannick has asked about the social impact of that? So I think that, and it may be oversimplification, but the society can be divided in at least these two groups, where the first one are people who are, let's call them early adopters, those who benefit from a specific digitalization or digital transformation first, or those who actually express a specific need for some transformation. And then there's all the rest. And this first group is relatively small, and the second group is actually most of us. So now, if we take a look at some of the examples, what happens is that for those people who are not early adopters, the digital transformation kind of happens. It is a surprise sometimes, and it comes with a shock quite often, a shock that something can be done. And this is where this maybe like a perception of a friction appears, that despite the fact that I'm told that it's easier, it's actually more complex because suddenly there are new use cases or new things that I have to learn. So just maybe to give like a solid example, when the email was first invented, it was supposed to help people with a very particular, very precise need to communicate using computers in text instantaneously, or at least very fast. At that time, most of the society didn't have such a need, right? They still could, phone someone, or if they wanted to send a document, there was a fax or, some telex machine and so on. Fast forward several years, or 20, 30 years, and I have to teach my mom how to use email because suddenly everyone is using email and she wants to be on board as well. And for her, this digital transformation kind of happens, as I said, right? It's a new thing that she has to learn. And of course, it's a difficult thing because you have to know how to, turn on the computer, how to log in, how to turn on your email client, what to do with when the email doesn't send, how, what's the address and so on. So there's a lot to learn. And with that, I think the like a social consequence is that we actually find many new ways of using digital solutions that, if we then rewound the time a bit, didn't exist before. So my favorite example there, who knows what the Beer Tap is? An app for the phone. Yannick, all right. So just for those who don't, this is an application where you can say that I have just drunk an awesome beer, and this was a draft beer that I have drunk at this place, and I really liked it, and there's a score. What's the point of this application? I mean, just going back a few years, why would anyone want to do that? Why would anyone want to share this? Sounds like a use case that doesn't make any sense, right? Several years ago. But suddenly today, you want to be, with your friends all the time. You want to share with them what you feel. You want to share your experiences. And this is a way, of course, there's a gamification effect with Beer Tap as well. You get prizes for drinking new beers and so on. A completely new use case that didn't exist before. And again, we as a recipient of such an app, this digital transformation kind of happened to us, right? We didn't need it, but now there are new opportunities where we could do that.
Thank you. There are a few important things in what you said. I will get back to this happening of the things later, but the important thing is that I understand that the digital transformation has simplification somewhere in its logic, but in the same time, it's a certain challenge for us as a society, for us as the participants of the society, but also for the organization. And getting back to this topic, I'm thinking about the transformation of the organization culture. For example, you said about the companies that produce the product. I think that more and more companies produce products nowadays, even if it's not their core activity, because we all need products. Once we are the companies that produce products, we have the new people on board. We have the people from IT, we have the product managers. So it's a completely new culture coming to the organizations. Do you see it from your perspective, this transformation caused by this change in the way the organizations operate? Erhan. You're nodding, so I'm asking you.
Let me better understand. So your question is more around like, being digital is impacting the organizational changes as well? Is it the question?
The question is if you see that the culture in the organization changes due to new functions, new people, new topics appearing in the discussion.
Thank you. So basically, it does, because if you look at statistic in the market today, because of this business process automation, which is one of the major game player in digital transformation journey, like over 40 or 50% of the markets in the job will be disappearing. So this is a brutal fact, and this is happening slowly. And then that's why in the organizations today, if somebody is just supporting, as mentioned earlier, invoice processing, those has to upskill, and those has to learn something more value-driven jobs, I will say. And it comes usually out of, again, digital products in the market. It can be like robotics, it can be data analytics, or it can be AI, or that kind of, solution or user experience, etc. And that's, I see very big impact, like in next 5-10 years, that we will see most of the organization will be reducing the amount of worker or reusing the existing amounts for different area of profession, I would say.
Thank you. I see Magda wants to take her voice.
Okay, so in my opinion, this is extremely connected. I mean, the digital transformation with cultural change inside the organization. Because even if you take a look on big organizations, big companies, for example, some departments are closed, they have data in silos, and they are focused on their own KPIs, and everybody is focused on their department, etc. And for example, if we bring, to this company digital transformation, and we will show them that it's extremely huge value, for example, to correlate this data between the departments, because you can just get extra meaning, extra information from this, and based on this information, you can just, improve your decision-making process, and everybody will feel like he or she is owner of the product of this company, of the data. So I believe, this open experimental culture inside the organization, this is something big, and it helps organization to grow, definitely, in my opinion.
Robin Bartek, do you want to add to this topic?
Well, I cannot agree more. So it's like the digital transformation and cultural change of the organizations are very closely connected. So it was said that like some roles might not exist in the future, but it should not be scary for you. So product manager, product owners will have a role in the future. Will not replace all the functions, all the roles by machines and algorithms. But how we are doing our jobs will change, and like this evolution is happening.
I think that you touched the topic that is very important for us all. So what will be next? Where will this all lead us? Will be replaced by the machines, or will we have some place in this digitalized society and digitalized labor market? How do you see this future here?
I can take this, or
Go ahead.
yeah, okay. So basically, I don't see this is a risk for the people, because today, if there is a job which is just copy-paste based, and I just take it forward, right? And I don't want to push hard, and I just go and do this job. But tomorrow, if there is no such a job, then I have to be part of the competition in the market, upskill myself, and get more interesting jobs as well. So one case I just want to mention, in my previous organization, a lady was doing training assignments and access granting for our employees all across the globe. We automated her process with her team, entire team. So 6 people freed up. So what to do with those ladies? So let's give them to another area. So she went to another department and she started doing more marketing related activities. After 1-2 months, she came back to us and she said that, you know what, we can automate this process as well, end to end. And then, okay, so what next? So we will automate your process, and what you will do? She said that, oh, I enjoyed it very much, and I guess I'm gonna become product owner. Digital product owner, the one that going and defining the processes, driving through the implementation, and ensuring that we have digital operations. I was like, wow, yeah, that's how you take your new opportunities, right? So this is already happening. Not everyone does. So that's why I have another practice under me called Digital Academy, where we are offering people a lot of variation of digital, skill sets to remain in the market going forward as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe to rephrase the question a little bit, will digital transformation impact our own jobs? Is there a place for a product manager in 15, 20 years? I think many things will be automated, and I actually experiment a little bit with this myself, but if you take a look at the history, say the last 100 years or 150 years, many things have been automated throughout the last century, right? We don't have to do so much of manual, repetitive labor because there are machines that help us do that. And what did people do? They actually started doing something else, right? So what does it mean for product managers? Yes, maybe the current scope of the daily exercises that we perform as product managers, or program managers, or designers, or managers in general, that will most likely change one way or another. We will not have to do some repetitive work, and maybe we will have opportunity to focus on things that are a little bit more creative or a little bit, more efficient. But definitely we will have things to work on. And I actually believe that this process has already started. So if we go back to, I believe, the second presentation today, where Kasia was mentioning the openness and the communication within Atlassian, the way how they promote the sort of getting aligned. Behind the scenes, what we could see are many of Atlassian products. There was Confluence to report on certain decisions and to make sure that people are aligned. There's Jira that makes sure that people know what to do and when. There are other products that help developers and everyone to communicate. So this transformation is already happening. We are adapting our daily routines to the tools and the capabilities of digital capabilities that we are being provided with. And guess what? There's still lots of work, right? So I'm not worried about, the job security. I'm maybe to end my thought here. CTO of Dynatrace has the saying that the only constant is the change. So we actually, probably the biggest takeaway is that we have to learn the fact that we will have to evolve, and we will have to go along with this digital transformation and actually change the ways how we are working. but at the same time, we, especially here within this group, we have all the means to impact the way how the digital transformation looks like, and drive it in a direction that makes sense for us.
All this sounds very optimistic, and I would like to somehow relate to the opening keynote from today, because there are opportunities, that conditions that make us or awake in us, good or evil. Do you see any threats related to the digital transformation? Are there any risks? Is there anything that we as a society, as managers, should have in mind, take into consideration when stimulating this progress of digital transformation?
I can take. So basically, there are very major risks among the digital transformation. One of them is attrition for most of the organization, because I hear stories, or I face with the stories that, robots came, I'm gonna be fired at the end, so I'm leaving the company. So there are things happening already. So that's one of the major risks. And the second thing is that I see all the digital transformation related things very positive for the humanity. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that, as mentioned, as there will be narrow down in the labor market, so there will be higher competition. And I don't know how people will react on this. More like, ethical way, or rather like, somehow I have to remain in the market with my profession and still perform it. So how it will be addressed, as I don't know. And this is, I see, one of the major risks as well, that it will influence people, their behavior, their attitude, or the level of competence that they have to bring in, and how they will gain it. That's also another question in my mind going forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
As Bartek said, since Industrial Revolution, employment has grown significantly. So with the automation, number of jobs created and globally has been bigger. With digital transformation, we are producing a lot of data, and we are overloaded with data. We are overloaded with ratings. We are even if we want to drink a beer, we can check in the app which bar is the best in the area. So this is the threat I see.
And can I ask a question?
Sure.
So do you think then, do you see a risk on the privacy as well? A lot of data collection,
Yes, I think it was recognized globally. So the GDPR as a regulation is something that is trying to regulate how the data is being used, and is addressing the concern of people are not being aware that their behaviors, their data is being used. So it's like the changes are happening on multiple areas. So it's like our lives, like our social life is changing, our work environment is changing, the corporate culture is changing, our behaviors are changing, and like our awareness how the data is being used in digital world is also changing.
Yeah, I mean, actually, this is another very important point, that there won't be much privacy unless we will have such a GDPR, etc. I'm personally leading the digital transformation, but I stopped using Facebook. And I permanently delete, and I will perhaps delete Instagram as well, maybe only LinkedIn. But again, it worries me as well from the privacy point of view, because they know you better than you know yourself, right? Based on your interaction with the things on the network, internet, social media, etc., etc.
Would you, our dear audience, add any risks and threats related to the digital transformation? Or you also see the very optimistic picture?
So let me draw a pessimistic one. So if everything is automated and everything is easy, in a dystopian scenario, we all become idiots. What do you think? I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? You don't have to think about many of the things because there's a service for it, or there's an application for it, and we all go towards this type of dysfunctional society where there are, I know, influencers and Instagram stars and the sheep that like everything else?
Not really, because you still have to have people to run that. So what we already see is that with let's look like the Industrial Revolution and the way the education has changed because of that. Because of the things we need to learn and the amount of tech people that come out of that. So right now, with the digital transformation we are seeing, with the way that fintechs change me and make me really demand from my bank that I do not pay any extra money for currency exchange, which actually shocks my father, who asks me, oh come on, you're traveling abroad all the time, why don't you carry cash like currency with you? We are paying foreigners exchange rates. Why? I pay better than you if you go to cash exchange in Poland. So somebody has to still run it, somebody still has to configure it. Of course, we will have robots, of course there will be automation self-healing and so forth. But still, somebody has to configure it. So our children or our children's children, actually the education has to pick up the base, because they are not yet well prepared, well suited to actually follow the trends we are already building. I believe that the society may have to catch up with the digital literacy, let's call it. Because currently we are way behind.
So do you think it will be all covered by this, eternal demand and provision mechanism, that there will be just more demand and someone will have to provision to this, so we will not become idiots, we'll just, switch our focus? Or, and here's a question or a challenge, maybe this is all because of human nature, maybe we are just curious and we will just get bored being idiots eventually and we'll just do something else.
I would say we are lazy. And this is the main driver. We are too lazy to stop making our lives easier. So because of that, we will still look for ways to make it easier. And because of that laziness, we'll actually do more innovative stuff still.
But it also focuses our creativity at the very certain goals. When I'm thinking about your vision, Bartek, but what I was thinking about it was that once everything is automated, the situation will be in actually that the automated things are those which we decided to automate. It's never everything. We will not be able to cover everything with automation. But once it makes the whole life so easier than normally, our activities will be more likely to focus in these automated spaces. So this will focus our interests and focus our creativity on following with this simplification, maybe, and lose these spheres which will become more complicated for us.
And then on the other hand, you have I admit this was a cartoon movie called Wall-E. Do you guys remember this one?
Yep.
How did the society look like? Mm-hmm. Lazy, just basically idiots. Anyway.
Okay, we have the last 3 minutes and we are talking about laziness. So it's a good starting point for summary. And as a summary, I would like to ask you for your vision of our role as the product managers in this progress of digital transformation as something that defines the world we live in. So how will this role change? What will be the goal of a product manager? Should we somehow stimulate this digital transformation, or is it something that happens to us, as you name it, and we can only adapt to it? How does it transform our role and our potential at the world and at the labor market? Who wants to start?
So, I believe that, we must have something like T-shaped personality, for example, because if we will have, wider spectrum of and knowledge, from different areas, and will be focused at the same time on our area, and will be, good specialists in UX, for example. So we are able to join, different people and just bring them, just invite them to the table and have brainstorming about, what we can do with our product, in our organization, because someone will have domain knowledge, someone will have, knowledge about technology, about machine learning, what we can do in the future. Someone will have knowledge about people, our user, etc. And I believe, we as product managers, as a managers in general, as a people even, we're supposed to communicate well and, just bring ideas to the table, be able just to argument, why we think this idea is good, and just co-work together as a team.
Like, from my point of view, I don't see major transformation required for product managers, but rather I see very big importance in the under digital transformation journey, because there is something called digital mess. So while you are implementing digital solution, actually you can create pretty much mess with those. And bringing the same stuff from the different technologies, different providers into the same company might create a lot of complexity. So that's why being a product manager and being a person driving an internal product development, I will really highlight that this group of people will be the ambassadors going forward. They know the business needs, they know the digital offers, and they know how to best tailor, measure, and convert the digital into business solutions. And that's how I see it.
Yeah, so I think that technology can help us a lot, and we should stay open-minded. So as product managers, we'll have a very bright future with the digital transformation that is happening and will continue in the next 25 years.
Who knows? So, if I may go back to this dystopian picture a little bit, we as product people have also the means of actually impacting the way how the society evolves, and to make sure that they do not become lazy, that this dystopian vision doesn't happen, even in the light of, say, political changes and just who is ruling the world these days. So maybe this is a point where we can just go back to the first presentation that we heard today about creating heroes. Maybe we are the heroes. Maybe we actually are the people who can create the society of the future by building the products and by giving the society things that will make them better.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, dear audience. Let's be heroes. This is what I wish you all and us all. Thank you, and let's have a break.